Hey everybody, welcome to Social Work 541, Social and Economic Justice 2. I hope that you are watching this video because you're in the right class. If you are in the right class, come along. So my name is Vicki Klein. I'll be your professor for Social Work 541 this semester. First things first, I want to give you some ideas about how to contact me. First, always send me a message through the Engage platform. If for some reason you are unable to, feel free to send me an email to my Widener email, which is vaklein@widener.edu. You may also call me. My phone number is listed there. It's also in the professor profile in Engage. I do work during the day, so if I do not answer you, leave me a voicemail or send a text message with your name in it, and I will get back to you as soon as possible, usually within about 24 hours, but most likely sooner than that. You're also welcome to contact me to set up a Skype or video session if seeing each other face-to-face is something that's better for you. I'm generally available for office hours on Mondays and Tuesdays, probably Wednesdays, or as needed. We can set up a different time to talk that works for both of us, but I'm generally always grading on the first half of the week, so I'm available to you. So since we're going to be spending quite a bit of time together this semester, I wanted to share a little bit of information about me. I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland, and have lived and worked in multiple different places doing a variety of different work in the social work field. My history is in both micro and macro practice, and I've always felt most comfortable practicing with feet in both of those realms. So I'll talk a lot about balancing the different aspects of social work practice that works in both micro and macro settings. This is because I believe that that's where true social work practice is found, in the place where policy impacts human lives and vice versa. I've worked in grassroots and activist settings. For example, lived in a Catholic worker community, which was a soup kitchen and shelter for families, and did a lot of organizing work around violence and poverty. I also spent years involved in humanitarian work on the U.S.-Mexico border, working on issues of human rights of migrants in detention and other issues facing migrant populations in the borderlands and in the region of North America. And then I spent a couple of years working for an NGO in Mexico City called Institute for Women in Migration, where I researched the impact of U.S. immigration enforcement policies and practices on families living between the U.S. and Mexico, and I engaged in a lot of public policy work with both governments to improve the situation for those families. Did a lot of training of local communities who are impacted by migration, who are receiving returning migrants to home communities, also public servants, government officials. Did a lot of writing and publication of different kinds of awareness campaigns and training manuals and that kind of thing. So now I'm back in Baltimore, and I'm engaged more in direct practice again, kind of shifting gears, doing generalist social work in an outpatient medical setting in East Baltimore with Johns Hopkins community physicians at the East Baltimore Medical Center. So I work in a primary care setting, doing work on psychosocial issues that impact, that present barriers to people's ability to access health and mental health care. So that's a little bit about me. If anybody has any questions at any point about any of these experiences, feel free to send me a message, and I'm happy to talk more about it. So welcome to Social Work 541, and I say it again because I really think this is an important class, Social and Economic Justice. In this course, you will learn about the social work role in macro practice, community organizing, and advocacy models, and how to assess communities in order to craft effective solutions. This course is based on the basic premise that social workers must adhere to the ethical principle of social workers challenge social injustice. I've listed the principle here. If you aren't familiar with this and the rest of the Code of Ethics, now is the time to brush up. It's important that you are aware of this because there is a lot of emphasis in the social work profession on social work role in engaging in clinical practice. And it is essential that you understand that social workers engaging in clinical practice is only happening in the context of social work's involvement in community efforts and social change. What makes social workers special and different in our involvement in clinical work is our ability to contextualize clients and families in their social context and recognize the way that families and individuals are impacted by social issues, and that we are able to discuss solutions in that context. I believe that this course material is essential to deepening your social work practice. The roots of social work lie in community practice. Even for folks who will pursue highly specialized, clinically focused practice, as social workers, we can never divorce our work with individuals and families from the communities in which they live and from the systems which affect them and us on a daily basis. It is my hope that during this course, you will gain a better appreciation of traditional social work community practice models, as well as a sense of how social workers are presently bringing about community change in diverse ways. In addition to your coursework, I will provide case and practice examples that should help illustrate the many ways that social workers and communities are engaged in community organizing, advocacy, and activist work. Even if macro practice is not where you see yourself, it is our responsibility as social workers to draw the symbiotic relationship between individuals, families, communities, and larger social policy issues. Your grade in this class will be based on 5 main elements: your class participation in weekly discussion forum posts, and a series of 4 assignments. Your first assignment will be a video presentation about your analysis of the community where you live or of which you are a part. This assignment will be done individually and is due in week 2 of the course. More details about this assignment will be provided in a subsequent video so you understand the details of the assignment. The 3-part series of community needs assessments will be completed with a dyad partner. Each of these assignments will be also explained in detail and are outlined in your syllabus. I recommend that you start looking at them now. Some of you will inevitably complain about working in a dyad. I understand that these assignments can be challenging working long distance with a partner. Do your best to be proactive in your communications, and remember to be considerate about making sure you understand your partner's work style and your expectations for one another. If during this process you are experiencing serious problems with your partner which may impact your work, it's essential that you address these issues as early on as possible. Please contact me with any concerns about this, and I may offer suggestions for how to address these issues with your partner, but it is important for you to talk about them early on so it does not become a crisis when your assignments are due. So as I mentioned, there are 4 assignments in this class. The first one is due in week 2. And then the final 3 assignments, which will be completed with your partners, are due in weeks 4, 6, and 7. And I will again go over each of these assignments in more detail as they come closer, but feel free to start looking at the requirements in your syllabus now. So the key to this class is your participation. You will have discussion forums, response posts every week, and these discussion forums are the bulk of your grade. They are heavily weighted. It's very important that you complete them on time. As I mentioned, they are weighted in your grade, and missing discussion forum posts can impact your grade. Initial posts are due by Thursday at 11:59 p.m. and then responses and follow-ups are due every Sunday by the same time. Review your syllabus for a list of good internet etiquette and good ways to communicate electronically. I do utilize the rubric for grading and expect attention to quality posts, including referencing course readings and utilizing APA citation format. Related to that, I want to introduce a little segment about lame discussion forum posts. Many of you are crunched for time, and I totally understand that you are in this program balancing many different expectations in your life, your family, your jobs, your field placement, your coursework. But I implore you to not produce fluff-filled discussion posts. If you've taken other classes, you've probably discovered that it's possible to do a discussion post that is technically correct, but also lame. One in which you're meeting a word count, but are not demonstrating critical thinking. Do yourself a favor and me a favor and avoid this. Contribute quality work. Ask questions of one another in your responses and in your discussion posts. Offer suggestions and constructive criticism. Give feedback on posts. Do not write fluff posts. You get out of discussion forum posts what you put into them. If you regularly practice meeting the technical requirements but not engaging in the discussions, you are not getting fully out of this class what it is intended to give you. And so your quality of your experience will be less. I want to see the content of your thinking in your responses. I want to see you digging deep and exercising critical thought and challenging one another. So if you can see the difference between these two posts, many of you may recognize a post like this, like, I really enjoyed your post this week, you did a good job. I also did that. I think that we're very similar in this. Keep up the good work. You're filling a post with words that don't really say very much. Another example is saying something similar, like, I agree with you, we were similar in this, but this is why. I found it difficult to reflect on my own practices and adapt to new expectations. I think we do this. I see this all the time in my practice. I really encourage you to read this other reading to think more about what you thought was the response and give a reason why. You are going to get more out of the experience of discussion forum posts if you put a little bit of extra effort into them. So, there are some very important things, expectations I want you to know for this class. And one of the very, very, very important ones that you will not stop hearing from me about is your writing. Your writing in this class matters. Proofread your posts and all of your work. That includes your discussion forum posts, and I know that those are sometimes a little more lax. We're doing them a little more quickly, but do try to proofread those posts and produce quality work. So I have strong expectations for you to produce good writing, use proper grammar, and demonstrate high levels of scholarship and academic standards. This is a master's program, and I expect you to produce writing that demonstrates that you also understand that it's a master's program. I will deduct points for poor writing or sloppiness. Always pay attention to your APA citations, and I cannot underscore this enough. There is a section in your Engage platform that discusses the plagiarism expectations. It is posted on the classroom site. If you have any questions about my expectations or about Widener's expectations regarding citations and what plagiarism looks like, please let me know. Plagiarism can be intentional and unintentional. Plagiarism can be intentionally copying another's work and passing it off as your own. And it can also be failure to properly cite. There are many resources available through the library and also online and also through the program and yours truly that we can help identify problems that you may be having with your citations and avoid this problem. So also due dates are posted in the syllabus. They're posted in the class calendar, and I will remind you of them every week. That said, if you know that you will need an extension on your work, any requests for extensions have to be submitted at least 24 hours in advance. I need to hear from you with anticipation to discuss why you should get an extension. I try to be understanding if something happens and it's an emergency or something happens in your life that's getting in the way of your schoolwork, but I cannot know about it if you do not talk to me about it. And that has to be done in a timely fashion that recognizes that you understand the expectations of the course and understand the timeline that we're operating on. Late excuses will not be permitted for folks who do not communicate within that time frame. My general policy is that I grade all work, but if you submit it late, it will not have the same point value, so late points will be deducted. If you have questions as we approach any of the assignments, also please try to get those questions to me as soon as possible. If it's a question on an assignment that is due on a Sunday, Please do your best to look at those assignments in advance, to ask questions about the assignments before 5 p.m. on a Friday. I generally try to respond to your inquiries within 24 hours, and that way it'll give me a little bit of time to try to get back to you with enough time to be able to impact your work and be able to make any adaptations that you need to before you submit it on that Sunday. So, just to kind of reiterate, I want you to know what you can expect from me and also what I ask of you. This is a relationship, and we spend 7 weeks together, and they can be pretty intense with a lot of work. So, as I mentioned before, I will hold you to high quality writing standards. I believe that your agencies, patients, clients, and the larger social justice movements deserve professionals who exercise critical thinking and who demonstrate their commitment to excellence in every way. And that demonstration of excellence begins with the way you present your thoughts in this program. Many of you may struggle with writing. Many of you may struggle with presenting your thoughts in a written fashion. But we are in an online program where the primary way that we communicate with one another is through writing, and so I expect you to be able to do that effectively. If you have concerns or questions about that, feel free to contact me, and we can discuss what the Writing Center resources are, or anything that you may be able to constructively do to improve. Related to that, I commit to offering thoughtful feedback. So I spend real time with each of your assignments, and I offer feedback that's intended to strengthen your work for the next assignment or for future assignments in the program. Sometimes this means it's constructive criticism about your research, writing, or chain of thought. And I hope that this feedback will be useful for you and that you will approach and accept it with an open mind. I also expect you, when it's appropriate or when it's intended to impact your work in this course, I expect you to apply it when it's appropriate. So I also commit to giving you timely feedback. I do try to get your assignments and posts back to you within the week that you submit them, especially if you have another assignment that you need the comments for in order to make any changes before you submit them. Sometimes I ask follow-up questions in my comments to you or in your discussion posts, and I ask that you please make an effort to engage back with me, as I'm truly curious to know more of what you're thinking or why you made certain decisions. So in this class, I also ask you to challenge yourself. I want you to think critically about your understanding of social justice, community, problems and solutions, power, oppression, and what it means to be a community-engaged social worker. Social work is often not a field where you can just put on a social work hat, go to work, and come home. Because we dive into so many questions about how communities are made up and our identity and belonging to different communities, we often have a lot of blending of our personal choices with our professional ones, and it's important to think critically of how we understand the distribution of power, the way discrimination and oppression and privilege work into our understanding of ourselves as social workers and our work with clients and families and vulnerable populations. So it's important to think critically about how you understand these things and try to understand and unpack some of the things that you're coming to this course with. I also ask you to think critically about the course materials. So bring your practice experience to the table, bring your questions and ideas, incorporate these experiences into your discussion forum responses. If you don't agree with a reading, feel free to talk about why you don't agree with the reading. If you think something is useful, talk about why it's useful and how you've seen it play out in the real world. Also ask questions of yourselves, one another, and the institutions that we are all a part of. Related to the first comment that I said, be willing to deconstruct your understanding of your community in order to assess and propose new solutions. And I hope that you can think outside the box. Sometimes discussing macro issues and advocacy and power dynamics can make us feel uncomfortable, and I ask that you're willing to be uncomfortable. I ask that you demonstrate critical thinking and problem solving in order to deal with complex community issues. And most of all, I hope you have fun. I hope you enjoy this course. I hope you learn a lot. If you get a minute, feel free to send me a message in the beginning of the course with a little bit about yourself so I know who you are. Let me know what you hope to gain from the course and what kind of social work you want to practice. As always, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to contact me, and I look forward to working with you this semester.